When I resumed my seat after giving that long list of announcements, Reverend Caliandro suggests that I am becoming forgetful. He didn't exactly put it that way, but that was the net result of what I picked up intellectually. And I neglected to do the most important thing, because while all these announcements are important, the big thing about the church is to win people to Jesus Christ, to get them to commit themselves to Him. That is what it's all about. So I'd like to say to anybody in this congregation who's not actively connected with a church anywhere, that if you would like to become a member of this spiritual fellowship, we'd be glad to have you. The other day I was in an airport and I forgot to pick up from the plane the magazine of the airline, which had some very good stories in it. So I went over to a man who had the uniform of the Piedmont Airlines on his coat and explained I'd like to have one of his magazines if he had any of them available. He looked at me and he said, "Glad to meet you. I, too, am a member of the fellowship." Beautiful way to put it. I was meeting a fellow member of Christ's fellowship. Well, I'm not asking you for a magazine. I'm asking you to join Jesus Church. So, come forward after the service if you're thus minded. We have two wonderful people here, John Hillhouse and Marion Patterson, and they'll take care of the rest of it. Now, I am a great reader of sports events and see a few whenever possible. And whenever I get in the presence of a famous athletic champion, I'm awed by him. And I was with one not so long ago. I was asking him questions, and he said to me, "Now, Dr. Peel, I know that you're pumping me in order to use me as an illustration in a sermon. And I'll answer all your questions if you don't mention my name." Because, he said, I shrink from that kind of publicity. Very modest individual. So I said to him, "What are the principal ingredients in being a champion?" He said, "Number one, have a goal. Not a fuzzy, inconclusive goal, but a sharp, clearly defined goal." And then he said, "Be willing to sacrifice everything of pleasure in order to attain it." And then, discipline yourself. Have thorough dedication at all times. Hang in there. Never give up. I said, "You've heard all these before. Everybody said this." And he added, "You've got to have intense desire. If with all your heart," that's the idea. But he said, having said all these things, the basic ingredient that makes champions is faith. Faith in God, faith in Jesus, because that gives you faith in yourself. These are the ingredients that make champions. Now, a recent edition of Sports Illustrated magazine tell about a remarkable boy named Bobby Carpenter, age 17, who is considered to be the greatest high school hockey player in the history of the United States. He is, at 17 in high school, one of 10 of the greatest hockey players in the world. All the professional teams have their eye on Bobby Carpenter. He has to decide whether to go for a college education or pro hockey, and only he, I presume, can make the decision. But in analyzing this boy, the writer said the secret of the greatness of this boy is he is survival-oriented. It's a curious phrase. I hadn't heard it before. Survival-oriented. That is, nothing can break him. And that is because he's undergirded by a good Catholic home which has integrated him in the faith and made a strong human being of him. So faith makes champions in every field of activity. The Bible tells us in the passage which was read to us today, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Well, how do you get this kind of faith? You get it out of desire. You want to be more than you seem to be. You want to be all that you can be. You want to do all that you can do. Now, I don't want you to think that this sermon consists of the reading of a lot of letters. But I do have another one here. And I like this one for obvious reasons. Dear Dr. Peel, I'm writing this letter to get myself fired up with enthusiasm again. I want to be a champion. I was on the right track when I lost steam. You see, Dr. Peel, I'm in sales and I'm trying to hit a certain goal. Specifically, I want to sell $20,000 of my company's products per month for the entire year. Last month, I sold only about 5,000. Not good at all. Also, my goal is realistic. In December, I sold 39,000, and in November, 23,000. So, I've done it before. Perhaps here's where I got off the track. I stopped exercising and put on 10 pounds. I stopped reading Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, which I was reading 3 times per day. He doesn't advertise any of my books in this letter. So basically, I lost my faith, confidence, and persistence. And those are the 3 basic ingredients for success. Also, I've let my enthusiasm dwindle. Okay, Dr. Peel, here's the deal. I will once again go back to my campaign and work harder than before. I'm starting this day with a healthier diet, and I will exercise every day by running. When I get back on the track and hit my goal of an average of $20,000 per month, in August, I'll send you a check for $150 for your church. Now, that's not